Now I'm going to start the upholster. You take the arm, you turn it wrong side out. And all your salvage, fold it out. And then just put it up on you. And you just center the round of the here on the cover on the round of the arm. And then pull it back over. You have to work with it until you can get it fitting where it's supposed to go. Sometimes with foam, fabric stick to it. It's just harder to get it to pull back on like it's supposed to. Once you get it on there, it should fit pretty good. Get your arm on you and make sure your round, if you have a round place on it, you'll make sure they fit. And then you base tack it so it won't move once you get it set. Then you want to make sure the whole rest of your arm is going to go down and fit like it is supposed to. The corners should fit on the curve. Once you get the corner in place, you'll base tack the corner in. Now, let's start making our cuts. Cut it back to the center of the wood that's on the back rail so you don't have a cut showing on either side. And then you just up close, you angle out a corner like a V almost to the edge of the wood on the inside of the wood and the outside of the wood. So when you pull it, there's no big cut coming back. You want to make your cuts down here too, so that your arm will lay the way it's supposed to lay. Make all your cuts. And be very careful making your cuts, because any bad cut could mess up the whole like arm or seat or back. But sometimes you make a cut and make sure everything's going to fit. And then you go back and see if you need to cut any more. If you do, then you can cut it again. Better to cut it twice than to have it messed up. On upholstering, one of the main things to learn when you're trying to upholster is just where most of the cuts go. A lot of people mess up because they just can't figure out where the cuts go on the piece, so they mess it up. And once you've made a bad cut, it's made, and there's nothing you can do. And when you base tack something, you just put one staple in, so that way if you need to take it apart, you can take it loose, readjust what you have, then you can make your cuts. Like I say, making sure you don't cut too far. Then where you base tacked it before, you can go back and base tack it again. Most time when you're cutting, trying to find out where you need to cut, you feel your rails underneath. And just like any other rail, you just cut right to it. Trying to make sure you don't cut too deep so you don't show your cuts when it's covered. Like everything else, better to cut too short than too far, so that way when you pull it, especially if you have a stretchy fabric, you can always go back and you can cut it again. That way, any wrinkles or anything, you can always pull back toward the back of the chair and it will be hid once you've finished upholstering the piece. I know it can look hard sometimes, but most of it's just tedious, and it's just making sure you don't cut something when you're not supposed to. And I'm just, everything that I've cut is a salvage that I have to staple down to make the arm where it's firm and don't come back off. Everything you're doing, you're making cuts, you're feeling where you're at so you don't cut too far. When you're coming around, just like on your salvage for your welt, when you're coming around, you need to snip it so it fits around the curve better. Most anything in upholstering, unless it's going to show, you want to snip around the salvage, around it, so it doesn't show. The last thing you'll do is attack the outside part of the inside arm, kind of rub it up, make sure there's no wrinkles, make sure everything's pretty smooth. And you take a little bit at a time. You want to staple a straight line so when you put your outside arm on, you'll have a good straight edge to staple to. So the staples that you put on the inside arm won't show. Most everything is to make sure everything's covered and make sure you don't do nothing that will make a bad cut or staples show. Then you're going to have a neat product. And this is what, an inside arm, that's how you put an inside arm on a chair. You cut your salvage off. That way, it's not in your way. If you ever work at an upholstery place, it won't get in the way of the people. If you're doing the inside upholstery, the other person doing the outside, you don't want it to be in their way. And that's what the inside arm looks like.